Hello and welcome to Anthropology 212. This is Introduction to Cultural Anthropology. My name is Tracy Ludke. I am the professor for this course. And in this welcome video, I primarily just want to walk you through our D2L site and go over the syllabus as a way of orienting you to the course, which we're just starting today. Okay, so here we are in D2L on the main kind of homepage for the course. The most important thing to know about D2L is that these tabs across the top indicate where all the most important information is, okay? So this course homepage is really just an announcement. I encourage you to read it. But where we really get into the heart of the course is the next tab, which is content. So let's take a look there. So the content area is organized by a table of contents. It's running down the left side of the page here. As you hopefully have already read on the course announcement, the place to start looking at stuff is the Start Here unit, right? Which includes the syllabus and this welcome video. I'm going to go over the syllabus in a minute. But then you can see sort of how the course is organized for the rest of the summer session. There are 7 units in the course, each focusing on a particular theme regarding cultural anthropology, right? So we're going to start with a unit that's really just an overview of that field and some key concepts that you need to know. We're going to move on to Unit 2, where we're going to talk about fieldwork, which is really the research practices of cultural anthropologists. Then for the remaining units, we'll get into some specific topics that cultural anthropologists study. Unit 3 is about gender and family. Unit 4 is about race, ethnicity, and nationality. 5 is about religion and health. 6 is about economics and politics, and 7 is about globalization and migration, okay? So this is the overview of the units as they will move forward across the rest of this 6-week session. Okay, so now if you go ahead and click on one of the units, you can see more specifically what you're going to be doing. At the top of each unit, there's a sort of summary of all the stuff you'll be doing, and then if you scroll down a little bit, you can see links to the materials that you will need, right? So this is this first unit, which we're starting this week, where you have a couple of things to read, you have a lecture to watch, a video lecture, and you have an assignment, which is to introduce yourself through the discussions area, okay? All the units are organized basically in that same way. Some are slightly different just in that they have a few materials. Some have some materials that others don't have. So for example, when we get down to Unit 3, in addition to readings, lectures, there's also a film, right? So there's the link to the film. And again, here's the link to the assignment. So for the most part, everything's already loaded into D2L. There are links to most things in the course. The one exception to that is that in addition to the readings that you'll be doing, particularly out of the Perspectives book, but also some standalone articles, those are all linked in D2L, right? So you don't need to go find them. When you get to chapter 10, you're just going to click on this. It's going to open right up. There is one exception to that, is that you are additionally going to read a book called Labor and Legality. I'm going to move to the syllabus in a second, and I'll show you the information for that. So that's a book that you need to purchase from the bookstore. You can get it in an online version. You can even rent an online version. It's probably the least expensive and most accessible way to get it. Or you can buy a paperback version, okay? But just to be clear, all the readings are linked in D2L except for the book Labor and Legality. That you need to go get on your own, okay? All right, so this is the basic setup. This is all the information, the table of contents under the Content tab. There's a discussion area. Again, those discussion assignments are all linked through content, but if you want to just go check them out individually, you can. These are the discussions you'll be doing over the course of the summer session. Assignments, there are several written assignments that you'll be working on. Here they all are with the handout instructions. This is where you will submit those assignments. And there will be quizzes in the course as well. They're not posted yet. They'll be posted when it's time for us to take those quizzes, okay? You can also look at your grades in the grade book, right? Once I start grading things and posting the grades, that will be the place to go to keep track of sort of what your average is in the class, what you've turned in, etc. And you can also use the class list and email if you want to email people in the course. You can also use that to email me. On the syllabus and the announcements page, I've also provided my NEIU email address, which you're welcome to use at any time, okay? All right, so that's most of the layout of D2L. So let's go ahead and take a look at the syllabus. even as there's a lot of information posted directly into D2L, the syllabus is still the most important document in the entire course. So it's going to be really important that this week, right, hopefully in the next day or two, that you take a little bit of time and actually open up the syllabus and read the whole thing, okay? All the information you need to know, both about when we're doing what you're reading, when the assignments are due, how much assignments count for, all of that, as well as all the course policies are all included in this one document. So again, please make sure that you read the syllabus and also keep referring to it, right? This is a document that you should sort of have by your side throughout the summer session so that you can keep track of what's going on. If you have questions, a lot of them can probably be answered in the syllabus, so that's always the first place to look. Okay, so let's take a look here at our syllabus, which you can look at digitally online. It is also, if you want to download it and print it, that's something you can do as well. Okay, so the syllabus sort of starts out with some of the basic stuff that you also saw on the announcements page, description of the course, course objectives. Then we move into course requirements, right? And this is important. So as I already mentioned, some of the readings for the course are already available online in a digital form on D2L, right? So that includes this book, which is called Perspectives, an Open Invitation to Cultural Anthropology, right? So as I've already started to show you, the individual chapters from that book are posted under the relevant unit in the table of contents. There's also some standalone articles that are also available that you'll also be able to see in D2L. Okay, those you can just link right to them. The book that I mentioned earlier that you do need to purchase is this one. It's by Ruth Gomberg Munoz. The title of the book is Labor and Legality, an Ethnography of the Mexican Immigrant Network. What you're going to be using is the updated version. It's called the 10th Anniversary Edition. And like I said, you can get it through the NEIU bookstore, right? The virtual bookstore. We no longer have the physical bookstore. You can find access to the bookstore, in fact, through D2L. And again, probably the easiest way to deal with the book is just to rent the digital version. It's inexpensive. You're welcome to buy the book as well. But please do note that there's going to come a point in the session where you go to the table of contents and some of the readings aren't going to be there because they're in this book, okay? So good to get a hold of that book sooner rather than later. We don't start reading it for a couple of weeks, but you do want to get a hold of that as soon as you can, okay? Other course materials that you're going to access. There are some films that are in the table of contents starting, I think it's in Unit 3. You'll start including some films in the things you do each unit. In D2L, there's a link to each of those films, but I just wanted to note, since there's a few clicks you need to make to get to the actual film. These are all films through Northeastern's library databases, specifically through a database called Alexander Street Filmmakers Library Online, right? So you can find that database if you go to the library's website. You don't need to go look it up. Again, the film will take you there. But one thing to note is when you open up that link from D2L, for the most part, it's going to ask you to sign in, right, to Northeastern. So just note that, you go ahead and just say, like, it says something like access through my institution. Just click. You're going to use your login credentials, and that will take you to the film. All right. So, so make sure you click all the way through so you can access the complete film, which is, again, going to be part of your assignment. All right. Now, in terms of the assignments for the course and how much they're worth, I have them in a list here. Like I showed you in the assignments area of D2L, there are 3 written assignments you're going to do, and then there's quizzes. There's 3 quizzes, and then there's also some discussions, all right? These 3 assignments already have handouts with complete instructions in those assignment folders, okay? So I encourage you, again, by way of sort of preparing for what you're going to be doing in the next 6 weeks, to go ahead and read those handouts. Just in brief, you're going to do one interview assignment where you're going to be doing an interview, recording it, and you're going to submit both that audio recording and the questions that you asked. You're going to do an observation assignment where you're going to go do an observation, take some photos, and what you're going to submit is both the photos and some material information from the field notes that you took. You're going to do an ethnography essay, a 2-page essay, which is really you thinking about reflecting on the process of doing the interview and the observation and thinking about how anthropologists do field research more generally. There's 3 quizzes. The quizzes are essay quizzes, so each of the 3 quizzes will have 2 essay questions. It's going to be asking you basically to synthesize your understanding of the material from a couple of units of the course. And then again, discussions. The very first discussion, worth 1%, is just introducing yourself. And then there's 3 other discussions. Again, they're all up there. You can go look at them right now if you want to know what they're going to include or what kind of questions you're going to need to ask. Okay. So that's the sort of overview, right, of how each of those assignments adds up. Like I say, once you start submitting things and I start grading things, you'll be able to keep track of your grade in the gradebook in D2L. All right. Okay. So that's course requirements. The next part of the syllabus is procedures. Again, there's quite a number of things here. I'm not going to go through all of it right now. Please do take a little bit of time in the next day or two to carefully read all the policies. It's going to be important that you know what's in there, as it's going to inform how you do your work and what's going to happen when you get graded, etc. Okay? So the first part is just letting you know how to get in touch with me. This is an online course, which of course means we're not going to meet in person. And so it's really important that you know how to contact me, right? The fact that we're not going to meet doesn't mean you're not going to interact with me. It just means you're not going to interact with me in a classroom, right? So you've got my email address. You've got my student office hours on Monday afternoons. You can Zoom into those. You can also make an appointment with me at another time, etc. So make sure you understand how to contact me, and please do contact me if and when you have any questions. I will also be emailing the class periodically just to remind you of upcoming assignments and make other kinds of announcements. All the emails from the course go to your NEIU email addresses. So do make sure, if you have like your own personal email, make sure you also regularly check your NEIU email inbox, because as I email things, you're going to want to make sure that you see those emails so that you know what's going on. Okay. I'm assuming that you will have read those emails. Okay. So make sure that you look in there enough that you know what's coming through from the course. Assignments. All the assignments in the course have a date and time by which they are due. So make sure that you meet those deadlines. In this part of the policies, I do give you sort of the information on what happens if you do end up being late with an assignment. For all assignments, I'm giving everyone a 24-hour grace period, which means if you get your assignment in within 24 hours of when it was due, you're good, right? Won't be graded down. It's the same as turning it in on time. Okay, so there's a 24-hour grace period. After that, your grade will start to go down. It's 10% off per day, up to 5 days. And after that, after 5 days, I'm no longer accepting assignments. Really, the reason for that is this is such a condensed course. As I'm sure you know, we're doing 3 credits worth of work in just under 6 weeks. A normal semester is 16 weeks. So it's really crunched together. Things move extremely fast, and there simply isn't enough time for assignments that are a week late, right? By the time you got that late assignment in, you'd already be late for the next assignment, right? So things move really quickly, which means we really need to pay attention to the schedule, make sure we get stuff in on time, okay? So again, make sure you're clear on those policies. If you have any questions at all, please do let me know. Of course, I understand things come up. If there's an illness, a religious holiday observance, an emergency in your family, please email me and I can arrange for an extension with you. That's perfectly fine. But you do need to do that in advance and set up the extension. Okay, so if something comes up, just contact me and we'll figure it out. Okay. Assignments, turning in written assignments will always be Word or PDF docs. I'll give you some other formatting issues to follow. Academic honesty and AI use. This is a really important part of the course policies. Again, I really would strongly encourage you to read it carefully. Needless to say, it's important that you follow academic honesty policies, Northeastern Student Conduct Code as part of this course. What that means, of course, is that anytime you're drawing on published material, you need to cite it properly. Copying and pasting stuff off the internet and acting as if it's your own work is, of course, unacceptable. That's what plagiarism is. In addition, there's no AI use accepted in this course, okay? So all the different sort of AI programs you could use, ChatGPT, Claude, etc., Grammarly, do not use any of those programs for this course. Part of the idea with the course, especially since it's a gen ed, is that we're really working on our thinking and writing skills. And if you use AI, you're not going to get any of the benefits of any of that practice in terms of developing your own ability to think and write on your own. Okay. So it is strictly prohibited to use any kind of AI assistance for the course. And if you do use it, and I figure out that that's what happened, you will receive a 0 for the for the assignment. Okay. So please make sure you understand that using AI is unacceptable in the course. If you have questions about any of that, of course, please let me know. I know that policies around AI use vary across courses. You may have been in other courses where it was acceptable. In this course, there's absolutely no AI use. Okay, so please make sure that you understand that going into our assignments. And again, there's a long discussion in here of why I have that policy. I strongly encourage you to read that when you take the time to go through the syllabus. Okay. I give you at the end of the policy section a few resources, just Northeastern resources, where to get support, etc. So again, those are for your use, for resources for you, an overall list of student resources. And then below the policies, we get into the weekly schedule. I've already shown you how that looks in D2L. So it's the same information, it's just in two different formats, right? So when you go to D2L, in the table of contents, you're going to see the schedule. It's also useful, though, to have the syllabus, which gives you the entire schedule sort of in one document. So it's easier to look ahead and sort of figure out, okay, I've got assignments coming up in week 3 and week 5 or whatever it is, so that you can plan your schedule really and plan when you are going to put time into the course. Like I say, it's a very intensive session with only 6 weeks to cover all this stuff. So planning out how you're going to use your own time is also a really important part of this process. So these are, again, the units 1 through 7. So that's really most of what I wanted to do in this introductory video. Again, welcome to the course. If you have any questions now, once you read the syllabus, or at any point during the semester, please don't hesitate to get in touch. I'm available all 6 weeks to talk to you by email or on Zoom, whatever is best for you. I want to make sure you feel comfortable and know what's expected of you. So please, again, make use of me as that kind of a resource. Okay, well, we'll stop there. I'm really looking forward to this summer session with you, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.